But maybe you won't forget.
But maybe I will.
But maybe you won't, okay? You're right. It's a risk. But risks are what make life worth living. Taking risks is how you know you're actually alive.
Risks are what make life worth living. After 2 seasons of watching this show, this is one of the main messages that I took away from The Ghost and Molly McGee, a show about how a girl met a ghost and together they became friends and hapified an entire town back to life. Now when it comes to Disney cartoons in general, most of them have an overarching, meaningful message for its viewers. Phineas and Ferb's message was seize the day and make it the best. Gravity Falls' message was trust those you know and love to overcome the unexpected. The Owl House's message was people should be proud of who they are. Amphibia's message was change is difficult and we should embrace it to grow as people. While all these messages are important and applicable for nearly everyone who watches, I personally believe Molly McGee's message is actually the most important one yet, because it encapsulates all of these messages from the previous Disney cartoons I mentioned. Now you may disagree with that, but still, it's the message that is most important for me, especially given where I am in life right now, and the show should get a lot of credit for how it pulled it off. So, a little fun fact for you all, but when I was in college, yeah, I'm in my early 20s by the way, I studied economics for my degree, during which I learned that the basic definition of economics is the study of scarcity. For most people, economics is associated with things like money, businesses, government spending, international trade, and so on. However, it is also applicable to basically every single decision you make, whether it be choosing what video you watch on YouTube or what you will eat for dinner. Every choice you make takes up a resource, and in pretty much every single one of them, the resource you are spending is time, which is of course finite. As a result, every decision you make comes with risk. By choosing to watch this video or play a video game, you may not have that much time to do homework or go to your job, for example, and that has consequences for both the short and long term. In economics, this is what is referred to as the opportunity cost, but in normal speech, we can just refer to them as trade-offs. But not all trade-offs are equal. Some decisions will risk more time or other resources. However, the positive/negative consequences may or may not be huge. All of this is to say that every decision comes with a risk, and it's these risks that dictate how your life will turn out. Okay, so how does this basic economic concept relate to a silly Disney show about a girl and her ghost friend? Well, The Ghost and Molly McGee abide by this principle for every episode since the beginning of the series, and what I find most interesting is how it illustrated that concept throughout all this time. When we first watched the beginning scenes of the show, we first met Scratch, a ghost who does not really care about trying to make his afterlife mean anything more than what it is at this point. While he may be a ghost, Scratch actually represents a lot of people in the audience, mainly older viewers like me who have a routine with a job or school that they don't really enjoy doing, but they are stuck in doing the same things again and again. People like Scratch generally don't want to take much risk with the decisions they make. But then came Molly McGee and her family. She represents the polar opposite of Scratch, which is something that I'm sure all of us recognize as a core part of the show. Molly believes in living her life in as exciting a way as she can, and the way she wants to achieve that is to make as many people around her as happy as possible, whether it be through forming close relationships or participating in community events. This conflict between Molly's optimism and Scratch's pessimism is one of the driving forces of the plots of most episodes in this series. The best example of that is with the episode All Systems Know. In this episode, Molly created plans for how she will spend the day with Scratch, and it's filled with a lot of fun, albeit risky activities that would push Scratch out of his comfort zone. Naturally, Scratch said no to all of it and just wanted to do nothing the whole day, and Molly believed that it's a terrible way to spend the day. They decide to put their beliefs to the test using a curse, and well, a bunch of hijinks happen which ultimately ends with Molly and Scratch reaching a compromise that leads to them having more nuanced views of their life and the world around them. This character arc is present in a lot of episodes in the series. However, it is made clear that Molly's optimism and drive to inhapify is what's most desirable in the long run. As the series continued, Molly's personality has rubbed off on Scratch a lot more than vice versa. Scratch has gone from a lazy, unmotivated character who is unwilling to accept change to a character who still holds some of those qualities for sure, but is open to accept change, take risks, and even help Molly bring life to Brighton. Of course, being a ghost whose job is to spread misery and scare the living crap out of people, Scratch's growth as a character comes into conflict with the antagonist of the first season, which is the Ghost Council and the Chairman. In the Season 1 finale, Scratch had to make the choice of either letting Jinx kill Molly, which would technically save him from trouble with the higher-ups in the ghost world, or save Molly at the risk of his own safety and be forever banished into the flow of failed phantoms. Despite this massive risk, Scratch knows what the right call was, and so he sacrificed himself to save Molly. Fortunately for Scratch, Molly is willing to take an even bigger leap of faith by going into the ghost world herself to save him. The risk she took is arguably bigger, but it had a bigger payoff, as she not only freed Scratch, but also every ghost in the flow of failed phantoms. The Season 1 finale of Molly McGee is a classic example of huge risks having huge rewards. Scratch is no longer bound to be a scarer for the sake of the Chairman and the Ghost Council. However, at the start of Season 2, we find out that Molly and Scratch's big risks in vanquishing the Chairman had unintended negative consequences. Scratch had become the new chairman of the ghost world, which also meant dealing with all the dangerous ghosts that he unknowingly freed from the flow of failed phantoms. For the rest of the season, Scratch periodically made decisions as chairman, and he did get some benefits from occupying the role. But as the saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. Unfortunately for Scratch and the people he affects, he does not use his power wisely. He has made a few good decisions here and there, but oftentimes his laziness gets the best of him, which causes him to make decisions that can backfire on him. This behavior of Scratch would eventually boil over with Jinx vs. the human world, where the consequences of his actions were so catastrophic that he acknowledges that he should give the role of chairman away to someone else who is more worthy of the job. The story arc of Chairman Scratch is a good example of huge risks generally lead to huge rewards, but will often have unaccounted outcomes. This idea would continue to be a driving force for other story arcs in Season 2. Molly's relationship with Ollie is another example of how the show illustrates the idea of risk. Both characters from the moment they met clearly like each other. In fact, they sort of get along a little too well, which made it appear that their relationship would be a low-risk, high-reward type of scenario. But when the twist was revealed that Ollie and Chance were ghost hunters, all of a sudden, the relationship became a very risky thing to pursue for Molly. But even knowing this fact, Molly did try to make the relationship work. However, by the 5th episode of the season, she acknowledges that endangering Scratch is too high of a cost for a relationship with someone who in most ways was the perfect match for Molly. Fortunately for her, Ollie does come around to a change of heart regarding Ghost thanks to her influence. And since then, their relationship grew organically until they became couples later on in the series. So Molly was able to have her cake and eat it too. But the idea of risk was still present in the show, and it continued to be a prominent theme for the rest of the season in other story arcs. Uncovering Scratch's past as a human, out of all of the arcs in the series, is the one that hammers home this idea the most. At the beginning of the season, Scratch had little to no memory of his past life, and had no interest in trying to figure out anything about it. But after some pressure from Molly, Scratch gave a slight hint to his past, first with the Surly Sid soda, then with the Mind Portal, and then finally, his accidental possession of Todd. Initially, Scratch was hesitant to dig into his suppressed memories, fearing that it would lead to some unintended consequences from uncovering the truth. Spoiler alert, he was kind of right on that actually. But Molly continued to push forward, not only to satisfy her curiosity, but also because she believes it's the right thing to do. Not knowing your own past is a huge problem for trying to know who you are after all. However, this push for uncovering Scratch's past revealed a depressing truth of how he never really lived a day, or at least got to enjoy life the way he wanted. Unlike most ghosts though, Scratch could go back to being alive and finally live the life he desired, but that comes with a huge risk, one that affects both Scratch and Molly. Unfortunately, uncovering his past had a more bittersweet ending. Especially for Molly, who for the most part got her way for a lot of the show. You see, as much as Molly likes to take risks, encourages others to do the same, and come out of those choices victorious, she's definitely not invincible to negative outcomes. She had plenty of moments where she felt down, and it took Scratch and/or her family to help her feel better. Beneath Molly's joy and positive energy lies her insecurities of failing to have a perfect life. This likely stems from her experiences of moving across the country for most of her life. As a result of this insecurity, Molly has made quite a lot of questionable, devious, and outright insane decisions throughout the series, which almost got her injured or outright killed in the worst case scenarios. So despite Molly being the beacon of bringing happiness to everywhere that needs it, the show acknowledges that she has her limits. But despite the limits of how much joy and positivity she can experience and spread, that does not stop her from pushing the boundaries of her inhabification efforts. As a result of her relentless push to bring life to others, Molly McGee managed to do what only a handful of protagonists have successfully pulled off, bringing someone who was dead back to life, and have them enjoy the time being alive. As we established early on, the most precious resource people have in their life is time. Molly McGee, at the cost of her own happiness, gave a ghost more time to enjoy life. This right here is why Molly McGee and the message she gives is so important. While Scratch/Todd may seem like an extremely rare scenario of someone becoming a lost soul, the truth is that millions of people are like Todd or are on the way to become like him. Of course, I don't mean people will literally lose their own ghosts, but giving up the desire to have a better life can happen to so many people out there. Many people tend to reach a point in life where they become stuck doing the same thing over and over again. Even though they may wish to experience something new and better, they often don't follow through with that wish because they're too scared to lose what they have. The story of Molly McGee shows us that we should not be afraid to make choices that would make our lives better, even if there are going to be unintended consequences for making said choices. Life is supposed to be unpredictable, whether we like it or not. We can either embrace the unpredictability and enjoy the most out of it, or fall into the monotonous routine and lose the part of us that makes each person unique. The choice is ultimately up to the person, let's be clear, but the show really encourages you to pick the former option. I'm not gonna lie, learning a life lesson is one of the last things I expected from this show. The ghost in Molly McGee made look colorful, bright, and funny, and does not appear to be that serious of a cartoon. But beneath the fun, bright appearance lies a story of how a girl showed a town how to live life at their fullest. In doing so, she managed to bring a ghost back to life, thus allowing him to embrace life's unpredictability. Hey guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. It is a bit different from my normal content, but I've always wanted to do something like this where I can think deeply about a certain media that I enjoyed consuming and try to extract the deeper meaning of it all. Let me know what you all think about this content in the comments below, and please give this video a like and subscribe for more content like this. Also, thanks again to Seb Maeda and MB Command Nerd for your support through Patreon, and thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all have a great day. See you in the next one.